Hey everyone, so I made this video and then I received recording failed. So hopefully this one won't fail. Anyway, today I am doing a updated video on how I organize my character stuff for Pathfinder 2nd edition. We have been playing for about a year now, so I'm starting to settle into a routine of how I like my notebook set up. There are two previous videos where I've showed how, like, I guess you can kind of watch it to show the evolution, but then there were some in the middle that I didn't bother filming at all because they weren't important to know. So yeah, so you can check those out if you want, otherwise just keep watching this one. So as I said, my video failed, so this was wrapped nicely around the whole front. Now it looks like a big, a piece of leather strap wraps around a couple of times. And then attached to the front of it, I have this Tree of Life that my friend, Miss M, from Phoenix Fire Designs made for me like 20 years ago. I don't even know. Like, it's missing some stones because they've bashed onto things and whatnot. But I thought the little green Tree of Life went perfectly with this, and I never wore it as a necklace anymore because I've got other Tree of Life necklaces that she's made me, so this one didn't get reached for as often, so I stuck it on the front of my binder. And then I also stuck a little bat charm because I've got a bat companion now, and I just thought it would be cute, a little cute way of acknowledging him. So the binder is a green felt 6-string A5 size binder off of Amazon. I will link it below. It was 9 or 12 pounds, something in that area. I can't remember which. I went with felt because as a druid, I felt like she wouldn't use a plastic binder or like a leather binder. So I felt like she would have something a bit more earthy as her notebook covers. So this is wool felt. And it's quite nice. The only problem is it's a bit thin. So I do worry because it is starting to get quite full. So I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't close it anymore. I guess I could always cut off this part and then just wrap it around with the leather. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, the inside front has this little pocket here. It's a bit of a useless pocket because stuff falls out, as you can see. All I have in here are some blank cards for if I needed to make a card on the fly. And then some of my spell cards, because basically what I do at the beginning of, well, before we have a session, is I kind of think about where we currently are in our game. Obviously, I don't know where we'll wind up, but I try to sort of like pick spells at the beginning of the session that however many days we go through in the session, I'll be able to like refresh my cards, change my spells out without having to browse through the big binder of spells. Sometimes I still wind up pulling out the big binder, which is a huge trading card organizer that holds 12 cards per sheet, so you can imagine how big it is. I think it's 12 per sheet. It might even be 24 per sheet now that I think of it. No, it's 12 per sheet, yeah. 12? Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's really big and takes a lot of space on the table, so I try not to get it out during play, and also going through the spells does take a lot of time. So my first, I guess, kind of like tip if you're a spellcaster is just pick a bunch of spells before your session starts of what you might think you'll need. And then if you need other spells, you can always go out and get them later, but at least you've got some of the spells that might be useful in your session. Like Familiar's Face is one of those where, like, because I can take Sev's, I can look through my Familiar's eyes, as you can see. And so sometimes, like, I'll keep this as a, like, if I know we're going to be traveling the next day to somewhere, then that morning in game I can learn this spell instead of whatever 3rd level spell I had. And then, as I say, the same with like forms and waves and hydraulic pushes and things like that. Generally, like right now I've got a lot of fire spells up because we were fighting mummies, and so I thought, oh, we might need some fire spells for some undead. But I kept the water spells up, or not up, but I kept them here just in case I wanted to switch back to them. Because obviously you can change your spells every in-game day. So yeah, so that is a big help for me personally. The first thing in the binder is this plastic Filofax zipper side zip envelope. I can speak today, I promise. And inside of it, I just have some hole reinforcements because, I mean, binder holes, yeah, they rip. So some hole reinforcements and a little bit of felt that I use to as a eraser, which I'll show you in a minute why. And then some tabs, which just I use throughout my book for different things. Like I've got one potion vial. So if I have a potion that is actually also a spell, I can slap the potion vial sticky tab on top of that card and keep it in my inventory, and I know that it's a potion, not spell. 1+1 striking stone, because that's one of my spells is I can make, and they don't expire, but I can make stones into striking stones, and so I've got a bunch of tabs so that when I use them, I can pull them off. 2nd level spell scroll sticker, because if I've got a spell scroll, I mark that it's a spell scroll for ease of knowing. And then obviously like bag of holding stickers to put on anything that's in my bag of holding. So next, I've shrunk down my character sheet to A5 size. Although I did have to like make 2 copies and then be a bit funny with the margins. I have a feeling that's because the Pathfinder pages were designed for like an American size letter, whereas my binder A5 is a half sheet of UK size letter, or like A5 size versus A4 size, but an American letter is not A4 size. So I think that's why it got a bit funny. Either way, it doesn't matter. I made it work. So yeah, as I said, on the bottom here, I have my striking stones. As I can use them, I can pull off one of these tabs so that I know how many I have. And then I don't know if you can see it because it is written in pencil, but all over my character sheet, I have little notes. So for example, I've got assurance and medicine, so I've given myself a +10 on the side there, so that I know that I can always take the +10 instead of rolling. I also get an additional +1 in medicine if I'm using my healing staff, so I put that little +1 right there, so that I don't forget I have that. Additionally, I have a climbing kit that gives me a +1 if I'm climbing to my athletics, so I wrote little +1 if climbing with kit. Then down the side, like, you know, I've got a fire protection ring, so +5 fire protect. I can't read these from this far away. But one of these is, yeah, like a +1 if I'm wearing my fine clothing, because we bought like expensive fine clothing to go out to a fancy dinner. And one of the perks of the fancy clothes is you get a +1 to make an impression. So I've got that on the side here. And then also the same is because of one of my abilities, I have a +1 make an impression on animals. So again, I wrote that in the margin there, so that way I didn't forget about it. This is very, very helpful as we play, because even though we're now at 7th level, even though we're now at 7th level, you still forget, and you also forget what you have in your possession. So that's why I've got this. And as you can see, I'm using tabs at the top. It is this set of tabs, which they're from a company called Semicolon, and they're paper tabs. And I think I picked this up from the is it called Stamford's, the like map, like travel book shop in Covent Gardens in London. But they're made by a company called Semicolon with a K. So I'm guessing it might be German, maybe, because it's got a K instead of a C. Anyway, I'm not sure. But yeah, so these are really great because they're different colors, and I use these for everything pretty much because they're also repositionable. So I've got that set of tabs. There's a theme with the tabs, by the way. You will soon see as we go through the book. So yeah, so there's my character sheet. Next I have, so these pages are from a smaller card binder. So obviously, as you can see, this was only a 4 card per page holder, which also happened to be A5 size. And basically what I did was I took apart the binder, and then in the instance if there wasn't enough room to poke holes, I covered it with washi tape down one side so that I could put the holes in to put this in my binder. And this has worked out amazing because it's very difficult to find card holders that are A5 binder size, because these are not credit cards. So like the Filofax credit card holders are too small. Excuse me, I need to take a sip of drink. Yeah, so credit card holders are too small because these are bigger than a credit card. So you really need the trading card holders. And I think the binder it wasn't very expensive. Again, it was like less than a tenner, and it had a lot of pages. I mean, there's still some, oops. I mean, this is what it looks like. And then as you can see, what I've been doing is just tearing the pages out from the center and then poking holes in them. So I still have a couple pages left in here. So it must have had like 24 pages or something like that to begin with. And obviously each page can hold 8 cards front and back, and it works out really well in my binder. So yeah. So next I have the cost of things cards. And I have these because it made it easier for the GM as well, is that when we're like stay somewhere for the night and when we're in a bar or something like that, he doesn't have to keep telling us how much the beverages cost, the food cost, and the lodging cost. I can just look on the card and deduct the amount instead, because it was just wasting in-game time with the GM having to just look up the prices of everything. So I've kept all those in and transportation. And then spellcasting services, I put that card in here too because, hey, I can get paid to cast spells. You know, if I cast a spell for someone, and this tells me how much I can charge them for it. So I thought that was really good to have. And then also I have the breakdown of the coins on the back here. I mean, it's a very simple system. It's not like It's not like Harry Potter where a nut is like 17, or like it's 17 nuts to a sickle and 23 sickles to a galleon, or is it the opposite? Well, anyway, it's like 17 and 23 are the two smaller numbers, and it's a really bizarre system. No, the Pathfinder coinage system is quite simply, you know, you've got coppers and silvers and golds and platinums, and it's basically a system of tens and decimals, but I've got that here anyway, just as a refresher, just in case. And then we start my inventory cards. So first of all, as you can see, there are some that are printed out. These aren't purchased. We bought the adventure pack cards and then printed only the ones that we needed. So here's my adventure pack, and then I took everything that's in it and I just like cut them up and pasted them to the front here so I know what I've got. And then my tools. So what I've done is I've taken my highlighter and I've highlighted where it says what your bonus is. So like I have an expanded healer's tools provide an item bonus to checks. I have expanded healer's tools. So I get an additional, it doesn't actually say, but I think it's a +1. I will have to, yeah, +1, does say it. Does say it on the card. So I've highlighted that. So in addition to it being written on my character sheet, I have it highlighted here so that way as I'm flipping through my cards, I'm like, oh, right, I've got something special there. I've got healer tool bonus. So those are all of my tools, basically. And then I have it organized into clothing on this side. You know, my everyday clothing, my holly and mistletoe clothing, and fine clothing. And again, highlighted the special +1. Then I have some other stuff that's in my pack. Consumable personal coins, rations. For rations, what I've done is I've written out the number of rations that I have. For some reason, I have 26 lots of rations because I think we looted someone and wound up with more rations. And then I just erased down the numbers as we use them. I've never dropped below like 14 days worth of rations because we're constantly like looting and whatever, but it's just a way to keep it real and to keep me from remembering how much rations I have. Also the same with the consumables. It's written in pencil, and I keep track of my blow darts and my bullets. I've never actually used my blow dart gun or my sling. But as a gnome druid, basically those are my only weapons if I wanted to use weapons instead of spells. So I have just, again, numbers 1 through 10 for each of those, and then I'll erase as I use them just to keep track. And the same with my coin. It's like a little personal ledger where I can keep track of my coin and where it came from. And again, with the climbing kit, telling me what's in the climbing kit and then telling me what my bonus is, I've highlighted. Then I've got like all my lab information and my books and stuff like that. So that's on this side. And then over here, we start to get into the actual like possessions. I mean, the other stuff was possessions as well, but this is all kind of like new stuff. And so for example, Staff of Healing, all I did for this was I copy pasted, screenshot the PDF and then put that into Paint Shop. Not Paint Shop. That's not what it's called anymore. Photoshop. And just cropped it out and printed it because it was the card size basically, and it would have taken up too much room to redo. This ring card somebody else made. These are, I should have covered it and said spoiler, Plaguestone, but anyway. So that is a ring that you can get in Plaguestone. I'm sorry if that spoiled it for anybody. But somebody on one of the Pathfinder GMing groups made cards for the rings, and then our GM downloaded the cards and then gave us the card for the ring that we had. So we have that. Some of the cards I've made myself. I mean, you can see that over here too, but basically just telling you what the item is and then what its bonus is. Again, I highlighted my really, really bad artwork on some of my cards as well because I started just like doodling cards. Basically to do this, what I do is I Google what something looks like, and then I kind of like try to draw it. So yeah, so my ring of fire protection is very ugly looking, and there's some more ugly pictures on this side and this side. And again, these are just like, I could have these all in a list, but I find it more convenient for me to be able to flip through and just know at a glance what I have in my possession. Although I still forget about this Jade Serpent all the time. Then we've got in the bag of holding, because I have a bag of holding, or the Knapsack of Elvenkind actually is right here. And inside of it, so things that are in the bag of holding get a little tape flag. These are the flags that I use. I basically bought a bulk pack of them off of Amazon way back when we started playing. And these tabs come in handy for so many different things. You can color code the tabs, which you'll see in a little bit. But yeah, basically just like marking what's in the bag of holding so that I know I possess these items, but they're in the bag of holding. And then the Knapsack of Elvenkind, it had a halfling kind, sorry, not elven. It has a lot of information, so I just printed it into 2 cards, and rather than making it a back-to-back card, I put them side by side so that I have right away what's on it. And the Rod of Wonder is another one that has a lot of information, and so all I've done is made a separate sheet for those details. So this is my bag of holding inventory list. Basically, anything that's in the bag of holding, I write on this list. Again, in pencil so I can erase things, although it's getting a bit messy, so I'm probably going to have to either revisit the erasing or not try and rewrite on top of an erased line. I'm not sure yet. Next, we've got the Rod of Wonder, and again, I went through the PDF of the rulebook and copied the Rod of Wonder, all the things it did based on what % you rolled, pasted it into a Word doc. Then I went through, and every time a spell was mentioned that it could cast, I went and looked up those spells' details and pasted those in as well, and then I put it in this little table. So that way, if you're playing with the Rod of Wonder and you roll like a 63, for example, you can just turn to the page in this guide and it says you cast Fireball. Well, if you're not someone who casts spells to begin with, you might not be familiar with Fireball, there's the information on it. And I made this information available to the entire party so that if they are in possession of it for the day or whatever, they know what it does. Next, I have my background information sheet. This is just all of the bio that I've written about myself and different things that I kind of learned about myself along the way, or things that I add to my description. Goes in there. Then I have what I call my feat cheat sheet. I've made one of these for each of our characters because as my husband's our GM, I tend to do a lot of the admin kind of paperwork just because I do. And I made these feat cheat sheets for all of us, which basically list all of our skills and what the skills do. And then I use my highlighter to highlight my +1s and things like that. Just because it was easier than looking on the character sheet and the character sheet saying, oh, you have healer's tool, you have medicine of 16. What can you do with medicine? Oh, I don't remember. Have to look that up. Or I can forage. What does that do? So I made my feat cheat sheet, and I made that for everyone in our party of their different skills and abilities. And again, it just makes it easier to keep track of what you can do. And also, a lot of the information I copy-pasted out of the PDF of the core rulebook, which we also have a physical copy of, by the way. But this way, it just made it easier for me to know everything that you could do. Next, we come to the spell cards section, and I have my little Remus Lupin marking where my spells are. And again, these are all self-explanatory because they're spell cards out of the Spellbinder. I do have the changeable... one changeable cantrip with 10 minutes of meditation, so I've marked this slot as being the slot that my changeable cantrip will be in, so that way I remember that I have an extra cantrip and that I can do that. And then, for example, there are some spells that are on my ring, so those are here, and then the cantrips that are on the staff, I have those on this card. And then to mark my first, seconds, etc., I have this set of tabs, which I think I got at Paper Chase, but probably ages and ages ago. And I just decided to go straight down the line and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for the levels of spells. And then that way I always know at a glance what level I'm casting a spell at, and also what my spell slots available are. So this came in really handy, and I definitely recommend some kind of system of color coding your spells. Even if you print your own spell cards, color code your own spell cards so that way you know what level a certain spell is, but have a way of marking if you're going to heighten it, because obviously if you heighten a spell, then it's no longer the first level spell. But anyway, so as you can see, that one's, I've got to make new second level ones because that's fading a bit, but this seems to work for me, and it's been a big thing. And then also some of my spell cards, I've had to make my own spell cards because the spell wasn't part of the spell card deck. It was either in the Advanced Player's Guide or the New Magic book. And so sometimes I copy pasted or screenshot out of the PDF and then just made the card out of that. And sometimes I just typed it out. So I do have some handmade cards as well as the regular cards. And then again, I've got some spell scrolls. And for those, I've just marked third level spell scroll, fourth level spell scroll, etc., etc. So next I've got my alchemy because my gnome druid is also an alchemist. Alchemy I've got marked with my little Severus Snape because it's potions, right? I've got a little note to tell myself I can make 7 batches per day right now because we're level 7. That will change to 8 once we switch to 8th level. I can speak today. And I use this chalk marker, and this is why I have that little piece of felt eraser in the front. I use this chalk marker to mark off the alchemy that I make. Elixirs, that's the word I'm looking for, because then what I can do is, for example, dark vision elixir. Oh, I've given one away. I can either rub it out or I can put a slash through it. Or in the morning, if I'm making like extras of something, like over here, I made 6 ghost charge. So I've got them all there, and then if I give them to other people, I can X them off, or if I use them for myself, I can mark off when I use them. And this seems to work out really well because I can just keep erasing it over and over. And it doesn't matter. So this is from Stationary Island, and we also have some that are from Chocola. Like, it's like Crayola, but it's chalk. So I think it's called Chocola. But anyway, we use those on our map as well when we draw on the map. So just have an extra one in my inventory. Well, not my inventory, but in my collection of stuff. Then we come to the potions. So these are the non-expiring elixirs and potions. And again, if it's a spell, but I have it as a potion, it's got a little card here. If it's in the bag of holding, it has a little marker to say that it's in the bag of holding. And you'll see over here that I've got a lot of healing potions and elixirs of life. And I used to have those listed separately. And then I finally decided to just color code them and make tabs out of them. And so now if I give someone a lesser elixir of life, I can pull this tab off. And then I know I've used that, and now I only have 3. Or if I decide to give them out to party members before we go into combat, I can take this tab off, and then I know I've given it away to someone, and the same with the healing potions. I just thought that was an easy way of keeping track, rather than like constantly having to erase and rewrite when I had one. So that just works very well for me. And then back here we have the Summon Fae, Summon Plants, and Summon Animals, which I've not updated my Summon Animal spells in several levels. I probably should. And basically, what I did was I went through the Faes and whatnot that I could summon, and put them all into this file. I wrote in larger letters what level they are, and it tells you all the stuff about them that you need to know if you're summoning them. I did the same for the plants because I can also summon plants. And then for animals, I made one master list. And as you can see, I've only gotten as far as the first level ones. I need to add the other levels because I can now summon more than just first levels. And then I did the same thing where I went through and each animal, I put all their stats. So that way you're not flipping through the bestiary in the middle of play. Again, not necessarily something that everybody might want to do, but it's worked for me really well. Although I've not summoned an animal in quite a while, but I probably should update my list as well. Next, I've got our Communal Money Pot sheet, which is just a simple ledger sheet, and I just have that printed front and back because I keep track of our communal money for our group just by default, I think. I'm not even sure how that happened, but so keep track of that. I also keep track of all of the loot that we possess and like what each person gets in terms of loot. I don't keep track, like, if you use up something or you get rid of something, that's on you. I'm not tracking that. But when we collect something, I do write it down and keep track of it. And the same with our runes. We know what runes each person in our party possesses. We're color-coded, by the way, in case you can't tell. We know what runes is on each person's weapon. I was going to say instrument, but it's a weapon. Runes that are on weapons and armor and things like that. And we know what everyone has, how much the rune costs, and how much if you wanted to move the rune, and then any other notes that apply to that rune. Next, I have a calendar. Basically, what I did was I looked up the year that we were currently playing in, and I went, what year starts with January 1st being this day of the week. Oh, it happened to be 2019. Okay, so opened up my publisher file, made a 2019 calendar, and then changed the months and the days of the week to match the Pathfinder months and days of the week. And then this way, we can keep track of where we are in the game in terms of what time of year it is, what month it is, what day it is. Because as you can see, I write down the day that we play on the day on the calendar, and then we just put lines across if we've done multiple days in one session. And this way we always know, and especially if there's like a holiday coming up that we need to know about or anything like that. And then I also did put in tiny print, I don't know if you can see it, what the actual month was, just for my own information. Then I've got a list of the NPCs that we've met, which are also in our notes for everything, but I just felt like having a separate list of the NPCs would be really helpful, because then if we meet someone later, be like, wait, we met you, or if we're trying to remember somebody's name, it's in this list. And actually, this list helps out our GM as well, because he's like, now I have all these little scraps of paper with the names of people you meet, and you have a file of it. So works out perfectly. And then, as you can see, I've handwritten some stuff because I've not printed out the new file. And then I have our campaign notes. Basically, I actually also have a binder down below, another 6-ring A5 size binder with the archive, because I only deal with our current, as I call them, chapters in my binder at once. Otherwise, it takes up way too much space. But the first page, just for giggles, we've been keeping track of the number of kills people have gotten and the number of times people have fallen unconscious. For no reason other than that we just want to know. So I've got that on the front there, as well as a reminder of the months of the year and the days of the week. Then here are the notes, some of these little drawings. One of my party members, Jen, she draws occasionally, and then she sends them through, and I use them to illustrate my notes. I make my note file available to the whole group so that they can read and add things if I've forgotten anything. And whenever we collect loot, I always make a separate list of the loot. And then after I print it, I take my trusty highlighter and I highlight things that belong to me so that I don't forget to add them to my inventory. And yeah, that is the full tour of my Pathfinder notebook. So thank you for watching, and I really hope that this time this managed to record it, because otherwise that is a very long video for me to redo. So thanks for watching, everyone. Bye!